calling to order this meeting of the Economic Vitality Subcommittee in Hendersonville, North Carolina, June 3rd, 2024. The minutes are in front of you guys. If there's any new business or any amendments to these, now will be the time, or we could get a motion to approve them and move forward as they are presented.
I'll add one thing, since we'll have some extra time on the staff reports after Stephanie's done, we can kind of do a little bit of update on some of the event stuff. Okay.
And
We've been talking about before. Other stuff.
Make a motion to approve the minutes unless there's any changes.
Second.
okay, then the minutes are approved. We had a cancellation today of the facade grant that was scheduled. This is 344 North Main. The owners couldn't make it and will likely be rescheduling for
They're gonna come to the downtown board meeting next
Downtown
week.
Advisory Board meeting next week. If anyone would like to attend, hear it,
Yeah, and I did include just to look
what it
at
is.
what they're asking for is, just for the second floor windows on the street side. And whenever he'd submitted it, I said, I think our people want to know what you're doing on the main floor, to evaluate the project. And so, yeah, I've asked for him to include more information for that, but I included the staff report. Anyway, I'd prefer for the building owner to be here to answer any questions.
But that's with this application, placed all windows on the Fourth Avenue side?
Yeah.
I didn't even know there was that many windows.
Yeah, there's a lot.
I thought they already did a few of them.
They did them on the front. I don't know if they've done them on the
Didn't
side.
they do right around the corner, 2 or 3 of them?
I'm not sure.
They may have, because that's right where that aluminum siding was, they may have just replaced those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alright.
Yeah.
You know why they covered up the windows in the front part of the windows?
No, I'm not sure. I think that you might want to say that maybe we got in here next week. 'Cause I'm not sure.
You probably asked now.
Yeah. Yeah. So if there's any other questions, we don't. I just found out yesterday.
Right, so I wanted to propose a new activation at the farmer's market, but of course wanted to bring it to you first to just make sure that everybody was in agreement that it's a good addition. So we wanted to add, instead of a cooking demo, more of a meet the chef at the farmer's market and solicit chefs that are currently on Seventh Avenue or in that immediate vicinity. But also felt like it would be appropriate for some restaurants that are coming into Main Street. So we immediately thought of, Hearth and Heron, as well as Cafe Rao, right here on Main Street. It might be a way for them to introduce themselves to local population, as well as kind of tell the story of either the restaurant, the chef. I mean, it's really the gamut is up to their creativity piece. But what we would like to see is a recipe come through, whether it's a batch recipe, creative recipe, whatever they feel like would be appropriate. We would want to print that recipe card and marry it up with vendors at the market. And making a relationship with the chef and the vendors who are at the market. And the chef actually shops the market, picks up the produce that we've already prearranged for them to get, comes back, does a prep, where they're cleaning the produce and, kind of prepping themselves for execution of the menu item, and then cooking the menu item live, and answering questions as people are talking to them, and then offering those as samples. The piece that I kind of see that's the activation is the engagement with anybody who's there at the farmer's market who wants to learn how to use fresh ingredients that are available. And then learning how to do it, whether it's chef Nottingham, basil, or what you're looking for when you get corn, or whatever, the sky's the limit. It's really, you're limited to what's available at the farmer's market. Couple of caveats that I would put on there is making sure that the recipe has 75% of the ingredients that are coming from the vendors at the farmer's market. We just don't have olive oil, and there's other things that the chefs are gonna wanna have in order to do. But also have a way for people to make reservations or get information about the venue. I say restaurant, but we have a lot of places that do cooking classes, thinking about homemade pasta. Bellwether, there's definitely some opportunity for you to meet some different pieces there, but wanted to see what you thought of that idea. Not looking to do this every week. We're thinking maybe once a month. And starting off with probably not having a vendor fee to begin with. As it's gonna add activation to the farmer's market and kind of showcase a lot of the growers as they're doing it. And then if it goes well, the first two, looking at adding it for August, September, and October. The first two would be, one would be in June, and then the next one would be in July.
And just a little context on it, we have the cooking demonstrations at the market. Fans of Dakota and Stephanie, we're talking about some ways to incorporate it with restaurants. And so then whenever she had come up with this proposal, something to do with it, since we've got several restaurant folks in this committee, as all we had thought about bringing that to this group, just to get some feedback and some thoughts on that as a way to connect some of the restaurants with the market a little bit more, because that's something that we've talked about before.
Who's supplying the tent and the amenities?
It probably-
the equipment, because that's gonna require gas,
Yeah, we provide
electric.
the tent for the cooking demonstration, and yeah, I don't know.
I would expect the chef to bring all of that with them. A lot of what you can get is like propane burners where you just put it straight in. That's what a lot of buffets use. There's some very, chefs are very creative when you give them limitations to bring it. I've even seen some use a Blackstone, or I was even thinking if it would be Matthew from Underground, he might be doing like a pizza on a grill and actually baking the dough. I think the possibilities are endless. But I think that you really have to put some responsibility on the restaurant to be able to bring that piece. Now, certainly I can coach them through that. But where we're gonna put them on the plaza, we give them access to water, we give them access to power, but I would imagine that most of what they're gonna cook with is gonna be propane. Easily.
It'll be just one time they'll cook it, right?
Yeah, like the chef wraps up at 11. From my perspective, if you can't get the chef out by 11 o'clock, if he's running lunch, it's gonna be a long day for him to begin with. And then his staff would probably stay, or I should say, the restaurant staff or the venue staff would stay until 1 to engage the guests. But once the samples are done, but the recipe card could be there, and hopefully we'd be able to have the vendors that we've locked in for the ingredients should be able to guarantee, a ready supply, going through the rest of the market is kind of what I would envision happening. And then as I break down the cost, the cost for the farmer's demo area, we would waive the demo fee for the first part. Friends of Downtown would print and pay for recipe cards. That's something that we could do right there in the office. And then we would also help pair up the chef and the recipe with the growers. But, the chef would be on the hook for the food ingredients, and the sample costs are all paid by the market. And then whatever they decide to cook with would be on them to bring.
It's a good idea. It's a bit of a nightmare too, and I'm talking from past experience with our farmers market we had where I came from. The days that were the most successful was corn day, where we cooked corn and people walking and eating corn. And then the strawberry time where we made it strawberry shortcakes for everybody and the tomato day those were the ones that were easiest to do and brought in the biggest crowds. I mean, we couldn't serve everybody on those days. And we had a chef just cooking something, it fell apart for some reason, and I don't know, maybe we missed something.
Mhm.
I'm not saying it's a bad idea, I'm just saying it takes some coordination to get all that. And I know the mini batch bakery, she has all these little hot plates she brings up. But I don't think everybody has those. So enough from me.
Well, and certainly the chef has to be very creative and think about, like, you want one bite and you want it to be on a servable vessel that is, you know, either edible, which, believe it or not, you're capable of doing. I've seen a lot of people make you know, a taco or something like that size on lettuce wraps. You can do all kinds of things that are very creative. It's like one bite. You're not trying to feed them the whole dish. You're trying to give them a sample and an idea of whether this would be something that they would like. So certainly that's something that we could coach them through. But a lot of your chefs are going to be very talented in the aspect of knowing, like, they don't need to be out there making, you know, etouffee. It's going to be like how to make a fresh salsa or a pico de gallo or something that could be a complement to a meal. Although we certainly have protein vendors that are there, and we're picking up 2 seafood vendors as well, that are getting ready to start at the market on the 14th. They're going to alternate. One's going to be doing fresh shrimp. And then in the days that they're not there, we have somebody who has their own plot for clams and oysters, and they're both local to Hendersonville. The seafood is not, but they are the people that are propagating the seafood and bringing it in. So they have total control of all of that.
And what would so I know that some of the things that you mentioned, and even as far as produce and even things that are more simple, that definitely includes running water and inclusive of a hand washing sink.
Mhm.
So how would you?
You would have that accessible right there where we're envisioning is going to be right there on the plaza, to where they would have access to a hand washing sink with the bathrooms. And plus there's also water that's right there. We could also have them set up a hand washing station like you do in most tents. You know, the intent isn't for the chef to be eating it. So that's the good news. We just got to make sure that they're clean and using gloves
But if you're
and going through all
using
of that.
produce straight from the market and that kind
Do
of
we
thing.
do that for like tomato day and cooking demos and all that?
Just wash all the tomatoes.
Yeah, we already do them down there.
Yeah. Well, I do know that Cleveland washes all of their produce while they put it out, so we could certainly look at the system that they're using.
No, that is a great point, because you're coming from a health department side now.
Yeah.
You want to make sure that all this stuff has a place to be washed, and I'm sure a health department's gonna want to know that you're doing this because you're gonna be producing something right then and there. So they're gonna want to double check what is the hand washing station, what is the produce section, because there's also they might, depending on what the person's cooking, whether it has protein or straight veggies or whatever it is, if you have both of those, they're most likely going to want 2 separate areas also because of the cross contamination of everything. So there's a lot of that logistically to look into. So I do feel like, and again, much like Nancy, I love this idea. I really do, especially if it's, you have the guy come in, buy everything there to showcase, you could buy this right now.
Yeah.
But logistically, I would say you definitely should be in touch with the health department to find out, if we were to do this, what exactly do you need on your end to feel comfortable with this?
Okay.
As far as the type of stations, not just for them, but also for the food.
Mhm.
Also, I'd be interested to know, and it has a little bit in here about how the first 2 demo fees are waived. But then the rest of them would be $50 per market, meaning the restaurant would buy a spot essentially for $50.
Yeah, well, it's really about securing that area and kind of, you know, mitigating our costs on the water, but.
And I understand that.
And that's a price that I am not set on, and I don't
Yeah.
even know if it's enough or if it's too much.
Oh, no, I'm working hypothetical with the numbers on this.
Yeah.
But I'm just, the point I'm trying to get to is like, you have that there, but then I see you also have, the restaurant has to buy all the ingredients, the restaurant has to buy all the food sample costs, which I'm assuming is like possibly souffle cups or whatever it is that they're giving out. Not that I don't think they should foot the bill for something in that area. I feel like we're asking them to foot the bill for literally everything, and we're trying to find out. The restaurateur is gonna wanna know what am I getting back on that back end? Yes, they do get advertisement and marketing in that area.
Mhm.
But I mean, I think as a lot of us know, sometimes marketing and advertising is not 100% of it.
Mhm.
So I'd hate for them to go in there and be like, well, I'm dropping like maybe $200-300 to do this. And all I'm getting out of it is like.
Well, I think product costs could run them that. I think, we all have to be realistic about your labor costs as well.
Yeah,
So, that's another additional cost, and that is certainly something that,
We could sell the things.
when you are looking at starting a restaurant, you're in a different place with your marketing.
Oh,
and
yeah.
with your labor, and with your food budget than you are when you're set and settled, right? So there's a little bit more flexibility from that perspective. I would tell you that I would think that most chefs are gonna stick away from a lot of proteins. If anything, I see probably gonna be bacon, something like that. That
Yeah.
that's a little bit more tangible.
Oh,
Maybe the shrimp could be there.
yeah,
But it's certainly an investment and it's a long game. Marketing
Yeah.
isn't just what happens that day. My recommendation would be, translate the people that you're greeting into
Right.
being able to make a reservation.
Yeah.
Make it enticing for them, whether it's an offer of an appetizer or a dessert. I think of Cafe Real, they don't have a set dessert, so it could really change. Certainly bread pudding is something that would be cost effective if you were going to do something like that. Showcase what the piece would do,
yeah.
but that's really up to the restaurant, and I don't think it's unreasonable.
Oh, no, I don't think it's totally unreasonable. I'm just more
I don't
thinking,
know if there's an appetite for restaurants to do that, because, when I thought about it, I was thinking, oh, well, White Duck Taco, they probably don't need that business on Saturday, you're already busy.
Right.
But it might have been something that you would have been interested in when you were just starting out.
Certain
Yeah.
other places might be, it might benefit them more, they might be more equipped for it, like Shine, that's only open for dinner. They might have an interest on Saturday morning getting it.
They're open for lunch now too.
That's an example though,
Yes.
Here's their showtime, so
Yeah,
that would be a good thing for them. For me, that's my showtime.
yeah,
So like, for something like that, like, I could execute, something like that and kind of on the fly and do it
Yeah.
seasonally and things like that, but that's my game time. I'm gonna be behind the line at my store.
Yeah,
That's time for that
which
in the
makes
summertime.
sense, right? So, I think.
I've got access to like, some
Yeah.
20 somethings that are bored and want some extra hours, and if they were getting paid to do this as like a boost to the farmer's market itself, I got people that would do that.
Yeah, I'd be more in favor of, because I read through it, I added to our agenda and
Yeah.
hadn't read through the information either, but, I'd be more in favor of just, like, we go do it, is the farmer's market covers costs on everything. I don't think we need to ask the restaurants to pay, like, we paid people to be entertainers, that's basically entertainment for.
I could see, like, I could
Yeah.
sell that to a line cook.
yeah, I would also say that if you were thinking about making them pay, whether it's half or all or whatever it might be, I think a good incentive, if they're footing any of the bill, is an incentive of if you do that, you're this month's chef of the month, essentially. Across all of our social media within the town, like, we will do promotions of your place.
That's a good idea.
I think that's a
Good
great
idea.
incentive if they're going to put money into it, because I think that's the biggest thing with it. Is the amount of money they feel they have to put into it on top of all the other stuff they're already.
What do they get out of it?
And what they get out of it, if you get a guaranteed marketing out of it, of like, for your month, you are the downtown's like,
Yeah, I
best
wouldn't
food of the
think-
month or something
I
like.
don't think I would do it for more than once a month. I mean, I just think it's,
Well, I mean, if they do it, if you had somebody come do a demo for that one time during that month, for the month that you're doing it, you're in social media, like, we will push harder on like, hey, come and check out Cafe Rel and stuff like that.
okay.
Some sort of marketing behind it to ensure like, I'm putting money into this, so there's a good possibility of an actual outcome.
Okay. Do you think the the Friends of Downtown could cover the costs for the product? Okay.
Yeah, we got that, I mean.
See, I'm not used to that either.
Someone like-
Somebody else will
Yeah.
fit the bill. I'm used to the restaurant picking up the tab for all of that. Okay.
Yeah, because I mean, it needs to be for downtown businesses or as a way to support the downtown businesses, but that's something, that, yeah.
if there's in a perfect world, there's a ton of chefs interested, how would you be fair about picking or
It's a good question.
I would pick who was gonna get to?
In my perspective, I think that Seventh Avenue should have the first.
Sort of a priority on.
Yes, well, I think it's just proximity, that proximity. But I certainly would be willing to listen to whatever you feel like it needs to be, if it needs to be open to everybody equitably. I wouldn't do more than 6 in a year, so certainly we would just do a waiting list of people that are interested. And kind of take it from there. I just don't think that it would be enough of a production that you wouldn't want to do it more than once.
Right.
Right, and you would want it to be impactful and reason that would make people want to come to the market that day and collect the recipe cards that we would have in a season. That there could be like some pieces that go along with that.
So like the produce vendors have like a basket of one serving of so and so for this recipe. Kind of thing.
Yeah, what I would do is on the recipe, I would, on the recipe card, we could denote the grower. We could also give the grower, specific, sign that they could use to say, we supplied the basil for, this week's recipe.
But that to me is interesting.
Yes.
So then I know what to ask for from each preschool and they're like,
Yes.
so item number 2, and this is 1 serving or 2, and it's like
Yes.
figured out easy.
And I think that's where the key is, like, it has to be a very simple, you really have to kiss it, right? Like, you have to think of making a homemade, pico de gallo, something that you could do with really fresh vegetables, but kind of make it new and fun. When you have peach season that comes in, maybe the chef is showing you how to do a blackened fish taco with a peach salsa on top of it. There's all kinds of things that you can do. It just really depends on what interest we get and kind of what they want. And I'm sorry, Aaron, I feel like I said taco a lot. But it's one of my favorite foods. It is Tuesday.
That simple concept seems like it would be repeatable and maybe you even could do that every week, like just a recipe.
Yeah.
Have like a live showcase kitchen once a month, but you could have a simple.
The recipe could be there.
Simple recipe.
Yeah.
Yes.
For the month or something.
Yeah. We could certainly do something like that.
And then get the vendors, the
Yeah.
special signs. I think that is just as powerful. I know there's a little piece about the chef going around and getting the ingredients.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The chef is like, I don't know, I mean, like I've worked in hospitality for a long time. So for me, when the chef walks out into a dining room in his chef coat or her chef coat, it like stops traffic. I worked with my banquet chef at Grove Park and she would always go out at the end of the wedding meal and just touch the bride and groom, but also mom. And it was like a hush would come over the audience. It didn't matter how big the group was, but just literally walking in with the chef coat to verify. I think the same kind of thing could happen, not necessarily where, he would be, given rock star clapping, but I think people would want to engage him like, hey, I heard you were blah, 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 and why are you going with this vendor and what do you see? I think that it could drive conversation.
So I think that there's probably a couple things to look at as far as the
Mhm.
department, all of that, and then part of the reason why it's here at this committee, not like at the events committee, is because takeaway, I think too, is on that marketing of connecting with businesses and connecting with farmers market and the businesses, kind of like a main key on that.
So there's ways to make the health inspector happy and do it up to code. We learned a lot during COVID that you can make it happen.
Yeah.
Gloves
And a lot of changing of gloves and,
Yeah.
using
Yeah.
sanitizer and having a hand washing station would certainly make things go well.
Yeah, and there's ways to do it low cost, like for a while, we just had one of those coolers with the water you fill up.
Yeah.
You wash your hands with that and it's perfectly sanitary.
Yeah.
You don't have to touch anything.
Yeah.
So there's stuff like that you can do, but if you want to execute the thing, a lot of it's going individually onto a different person every month. And there's a lot of variation there. And as as a cook, that sounds like a lot of work on a Saturday morning. That could be worth it. And if it is worth it, then, it is kind of on them, but if they flop, it's gonna be on the farmer's market. Or if something goes wrong or somebody gets sick, it's gonna be on the farmer's market, so. You always want to have a plan B anytime you try to do anything, you execute anything like this, so your plan B would be something that's like really safe. And executable by like anybody.
What if we ask the chef to have it pre-prepped, but they are doing a show of prepping? And then they're.
So like the right person would like this and they would take the stage and they would sell their business.
Yeah.
And if you can find people to do that, then like, this is a good idea.
Yeah,
If you can't find people to do that, or you find people that like aren't equipped or up to it, or,
yeah, I think we have to be very choosy about.
so like Lorna, she could do it tomorrow,
Yeah.
the pasta lady.
She does it.
You know.
Yeah.
She,
I have
Some people that could-
That Bellwether could as well, because they're ready to go with that.
Want to do something on the fly and.
Yeah, or the hearing, because they kind of did something already during
Yeah.
this avenue event.
So then, what do plan for something to do if they wake up and they're sick and then they can't do it? And then, something executable on the city's end that you have complete control over.
Mhm.
And then, yeah.
Okay.
And if you have that stage set, then you have something to do there. The ingredient of the day is like a good idea.
Yes, well, certainly we could,
Basil is in.
micro-
And then it's like, this person's selling pesto, this person's selling a simple syrup, this person's drying it out.
Yeah.
You know,
and doing all of those.
But this
pieces.
is in season now, it's tomato day because tomatoes are in season,
Well,
That's
I also thought that even if you're just showing people how to cook, if you could go through the steps of canning, showing people how to macerate, things that are really boring to people that work in.
That's the canned goods.
Yes,
That
like-
would be the person-
Yes.
Dakota needs a PowerPoint in his pocket just in case something like that happens.
True.
People with the guy, for example, you
Mhm.
gotta make sure nobody in the market is selling that. Because if they are, they need to use one of theirs.
Yeah, they get a feature on the stage with it, like, check out this one if you're not confident.
Well,
Yeah.
it seems to me like this is lending itself more to when you go to the home show or the appliance show or whatever, you have cooking
Demo.
venues and so, there's no reservations. You're not,
Mhm.
that's a logistical nightmare right there, right? This has to be, you walk up.
Oh, yes, so the reservations were for the actual establishment,
Okay,
not for the tasting, that's,
Market go.
that's just walk up and find out what's
yeah,
happening.
people have to be able to, freelance, they go up, this is interesting, I'm gonna
100%.
watch. And, okay, whatever it is, the dish is ready, I don't know how you sequence that, because you can't just.
This guy's grabbing.
You can't cook for 3 hours and then,
Well,
give everything away in
Well, no, that was,
10 minutes.
well, and it could go that fast though, Phil. So really the thought process is that, the chef sets up, 8 o'clock, he starts to walk the market to pick up the items that arrange for him to pick up. And then, from 9 to 10, he's doing a prep where you're seeing how the product is being put together and how he's cleaning it. If I were the chef, I would already have.
Health code is 4 hours.
Yeah, so we can use time as a control. If it was me, I would be showing you how to do it, but I would already have these items prepped to go. And then I would be able to utilize it. Now, when I think sample, I'm thinking like 1 ounces, 2 ounces, anything that's gonna take you a little bit further. But they can use very creative things like, the corn spoons, things that are compostable, that are very easy to put a taste on and you walk away. It's not a plate with multiple factors. You wanna just be able to and go.
Right.
You know, not with an additional napkin, not with an additional plate. And when you're done, you're done. And it's almost kind of like, darn, I just miss like the greatest thing ever and just go, you know, it will be kind of like that. Once it's done, it's done.
It's the
And
marketing.
You're gonna have to have police, because there's gonna be some people standing there getting one another. Kind of like Sam's Clubs and those old people going in and getting the samples. But,
You know, and I think that is, you know, I think that people are pretty smart about it. You know, if it was me, I wouldn't have the guests coming to you. I would have the staff that's out there that's circulating among the team, you know, among the guests and passing it so that the guests can pick it up. And if they take 2 samples, you're talking about 1 ounce of product. I think you're fine. But yes, I mean, like, I think if you're stationary and you're just letting somebody come by and graze, then, you know, that's something different. Hopefully it's something a little bit more exciting than Swedish meatballs hanging out and, you know, grape jelly and sauce. But, you know, those are all things that, you know, you could do, that you could see.
You wouldn't want somebody like rolling a fryer out there though, and
No, but I do want to make sure that we have the cutoff time of cooking done by 11, because you want time for the equipment to cool. So by the time we're done with the
Liability.
farmer's market, we can store it and put it away wherever we need to. Because a Blackstone, if we got a Blackstone, would take a couple of hours. A grill takes a couple of hours to cool down. A fryer, we'll just say no.
Yeah, I think anybody that you did pick for this, if you went forward with this, is for sure a chef that can work essentially off of a camping burger.
Yeah.
Because 99% of the people that go there, if not 100%, are gonna be working off their stovetop.
Yeah.
So,
Maybe
yeah,
from the-
yeah, so as long as they can build something and work it off of that, off of a one-pan thing,
Or even
I think,
grills.
I think that could work.
Yeah.
You could do a grill.
we put a pot on top of it. and-
Yeah, you could do a grill, but I would say.
Grill, you can grill peaches. There's
Yeah.
certain things that you can do on a grill.
But I mean, just for the amount of equipment that would have to be there, I think just anything working off of a one-top burner kind of a thing would be perfect for it.
Yeah,
Because most people are, that's what they're gonna be doing.
yeah, agreed.
As far as the print and pay for recipe cards, I like the idea of that. I like the idea of them being able to get a recipe. Just from a logistical standpoint, is that a nightmare? Because I feel like you're doing that on the fly. That,
We do it.
We would want the recipe at least 2 weeks in advance.
Okay.
Because we need to be able to ensure that we can secure all of the product and then, you know, kind of align the stars, right?
Right.
You know, I think if we can get a North Carolina, you know, what's in season, and there's a lot of micro seasons that are out there. And making sure that we're pairing that with the vendors that are coming in. You know, you don't want to be asking for plums, you know, or, you know, figs in May when they're going to be in season.
oh, yeah, no, absolutely.
In September, and I think we can help steer that directionally. The good news is that we do have a lot of vendors. We do have a couple of vendors that serve chicken or that sell chicken. And then we have Caitlin Farms that does the beef and pork products as well.
Yeah.
So there is some flexibility in what they could possibly.
I was just curious because they were talking about like they were shopping that day too.
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure like that seems like a nightmare to have to like go shopping and be like, all right, write that down. Now let's print this up.
Yeah, no, 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 no.
2 weeks early, that makes sense.
I'm gonna say shopping, but it's all been engineered on the backside, so we know everything, like where they're going, who they're gonna talk to, and they're gonna be able to pick up their product that they're just gonna be doing sample prep with.
Right.
But we would want them to be able to have the prepped items, so if they wanted to make multiple batches of something so that they could do their samples.
So
You know.
how will they know how many to plan for?
I would say you would plan for 300, 400 samples.
Which when you
You-
think about it on a 1 ounce scale, if you're doing like a little 1 ounce cup or something like that, it's
Yeah.
not.
It's not a lot.
Yeah.
You know, really, it's about being able to make a connection with the, you know, the local person, right? Regardless of what their financial standing is, they have an opportunity to get the recipe. They could also get the product, make it themselves. Or they like the chef and they end up booking a table at the restaurant. So I think we're talking to, you know, we're cutting across socioeconomic class, right?
Yeah.
But we're connecting vendor to chef to grower and back again. So we're really supporting all three of the triangles, but
Customer.
yeah, well, I call them the guests, but yes, you're right, the customer, the shopper at the market. And really help with an idea of what they could be doing with the stuff that they're seeing.
And
I do like the idea. I think it's a good idea. I've seen it a lot at like festivals and stuff, and yeah, people, you get crowds for it. But there is definite like, I mean, trying to go for a June 28th start is like.
Might be too soon.
It might be a little too quick because you first and foremost have to immediately go to the health department and be like, what?
Yeah, I would go simple the first time.
Yeah,
Or even test it with just the recipe and not have the live demonstration. How many responses to the?
I think we could have the recipe ready to go earlier than that.
So one other way that I could see this going.
Yeah.
is Instead of just opening it up and saying, come sell your restaurant here, which like I said, the right person might be able to do that. You could prepare ahead of time a dish, a recipe or something like that. Pay a line cook minimum wage or whatever you can get away with to execute it for 4 hours. And then that person just talks about Hendersonville and it's a showcase instead for the vendors at the Hendersonville market rather than the restaurant itself.
I mean, that's their lunch special, like if Hearth and Heron is open at lunch that afternoon. And their lunch special that day is,
Mhm.
they
Mhm.
have example from at the market or something like that.
Yeah.
so. This sounds like quite a bit of work.
It's a lot of work.
So who's the mouse in Weedy Pocket?
Well, summer intern, this is a summer intern's job. So this doesn't intimidate me whatsoever. I have 30 years worth of hospitality experience. I am a POC. I am certified underneath the ServSafe piece. I am ready to talk to the health inspector. I have no fear. And really the intention is to enhance the guest experience at the farmer's market, increase the standing for the vendor, as well as businesses that touch the market. So for me, it might be some work, but in my mind, if it is a win, then it's a big win.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a lot of work, but I don't think it's daunting. I think it's just a lot of work.
I think it's, yeah, very good.
Yeah.
The best thing for a market goer would be just say, hey, welcome to the market, here's the thing. And put it in your mouth and just have a good day.
Yeah, envision them being right there, Aaron, at the plaza side. So right now we have the Prezel bus, which is the end cap on Maple, where it used to be parked on the plaza. So now this person will be right here. And it's a 50-50 split of people coming through Maple, through 7th Avenue to walk in, as well as coming from the other end and then walking all the way down and then back. But it gives you another reason to walk to either.
And you're gonna get a crowd because everybody heads straight to that bus.
Oh, yeah, the bus is very popular.
Yeah, so
Very good.
right there is actually a genius.
But I like the idea of being able to make this making it a partnership for a month. And then we certainly can preload the menu.
Yeah, I think making it a partnership for the month with whatever restaurant it is a great idea because it really incentivizes doing it, getting them to do something like this.
Yes.
As opposed to like, well, I'll do it because it's for the farmer's market, but now it's a little something back for them to be like,
And
Yeah, I'm getting
it's easy as you can make it for them too, like even if you know all your vendors from the market, if you have a list of like available ingredients, give it to the chef, whatever, 3 weeks, 4 weeks ahead of time.
Yeah, I think that's where if I can get the specific micro seasons for Hendersonville.
And then they pick
Yeah.
from the list of what is gonna be at the market.
And then we guarantee it.
Those strawberries.
Then you have a guarantee of starting to post, this is the recipe, this is the chef, whatever it is, a week,
Yes.
week and a half before.
Yeah, I like to have the recipe 2 weeks in advance. I like to be able
Like a
to.
polished post of.
Yes, and then I think if we can have it 2 weeks before the month starts, then we have the recipe available for the whole month and it's the partnership goes on for the whole month and the demo is only once. But that kind of gives them more bang for their buck. And if we have it there at the information booth, it's not an additional we're already there talking to people about the frequent shopper program as well as, anything else if they're getting tokens or anything like that.
Okay, my program manager background is saying you need to document all of this, not just what you do, but all the thinking rationale behind it, because you're only with us a short while. And you gotta hand it off to somebody
Yeah,
else.
you gotta hand that blueprint over to someone.
Make sure it's documented well, what you learned from the health department, how you handle it, all that. It's gotta be documented so they can find the new you.
Well, hopefully they don't get rid of me. Hopefully they keep me forever is the goal. I am, but my goal would be to live here. I live here, so I would love to work for the city forever. Oh,
Okay, you got it forever.
but I duly noted, and yes, I would make a checklist and make sure that we were all.
I just
compliant.
assumed your internship was over and you were gone.
Oh, no. I would like to be so valuable that they can't get rid of me. It's.
Say another word about the curation process.
Yeah.
Who gets, is there a local restaurant association or are we just targeting a handful? Or how do you manage that end of the process?
For me, I would do, a walk in and have a conversation with the manager and the chef. And I would present, the idea, and they could tell me what their capacity is, because I'm gonna ask them all of the questions.
Yeah, it would
Do you
definitely-
have, do you have like a way to hot hold, how would you cold hold? Are you ready to do this? And a lot of places have already had exposure to doing some type of festival. So they probably already have experience doing.
And would this all be verbal or would you have something like to leave behind?
Oh, I definitely think that whatever we have them sign up with needs to be, documented, especially when we're talking about the health inspector. The ideas that we're looking for. Yes, I think we could create something like that.
All for it since you say it.
What she's, hoping she's saying. We don't have another position.
It's a huge job. I watched it go on back in Michigan and
Yeah.
they actually built a taller wooden stand with 3 sides. And the chef would stand there and the microphone would be, they really developed it over time. And I think the reason why they used the wood was because of the hot plates and everything.
Yeah.
I don't think we need any kind of motion or anything, but I think this is good feedback for Stephanie to proceed with,
Yeah.
with a lot of good information.
Yeah, I think it's definitely doable. It'll just be a lot of work, but it's definitely doable.
That's a lot of helpful thoughts and feedback on that. Yeah. And is there anything else on that one?
No, I think just one last thing on that is just when you do talk to your restaurants, I think first and foremost is go to the new ones, because they're gonna be the eager ones, like
Yeah,
Cafe
really.
Ringo, the Heron, all of them. Yeah, they'll probably jump at the chance to do it. Whereas if you go to a place like a Postero, it sounds interesting, but it's not gonna be top on the list.
Yeah.
They have a lot of other stuff going.
And then I would go to people that are equipped to do it,
Yeah.
like a food truck or
Yeah.
someone that's mobile already.
Yeah.
Indian aroma.
Which is also a possibility too. We had talked about whether you have a food truck as a backup, just in case, you never know.
That would be attractive. if
Yeah, I
had a
think-
food truck.
I think it's almost like you want to be able to either help the new businesses or figure out a way to get somebody who's in a mobile business into a brick and mortar.
Yeah, I think when you talk to your restaurants, maybe one thing you could do is talk to them about their recipes as far as what they do is there certain times of year that are better for you? Like India Roma might have a certain time of year, like this is more in season for us. So it's like, oh, we can't do this month, but this month would be great.
Okay.
That would also help you with scheduling too.
Yes.
That they'd be like, I want to do this, because I think for our recipes, this is the better time of year for the type of things.
Yes.
The only other thing I have for today, I just gonna give y'all a quick update on the events since it came to this committee. So I think tomorrow we're having just an internal meeting on street closure process and all of that, because for the people on the committee who aren't on the board,
topic discussion.
Topic of discussion.
New parking.
Yeah, so for Garden Jubilee, though, we closed parking at 2:00 and had vendor load in at 4. And, I had police and parking, like, take very good notes of the process, how it did for them. And it went about as good as we've done it anytime is what they said. However, for any good time we have, there's always the next time there's 20 cars on the street. They had planned and they called the tow truck to come at 2:00 exactly. The tow truck came at 2:45.
Oh, wow.
So this is what we're dealing with in this. And, but by the time the tow truck came, there were 2 cars left to tow.
Yeah, I did notice that this closure that Friday, it seemed a lot faster and smoother than in the past, just from my perspective.
It was 2
Yeah.
hours from closure to start. We did make, so we put all the signs on the kiosks like we had done. But then I did go to most of the businesses. I missed a few and gave like the information for the event and then also like the towing sign so they can put it on their door. And I drove through about 1:30 or drove or walked, I can't remember now, at about 1:30 and it was packed and I was like, oh God. Sorry, a lot of cars. But then I went back through about 2:05 after the street started getting
Yeah.
shut down. And it felt very clear. What the police did say to us was that went well. They don't see how they can make it less than 2 hours
Mhm.
from start to finish as a regular occurrence for it.
Jamie, they didn't do the announcement either on the street.
So, yeah, because that's been the big complaint is just the frequent going up and down the street, telling people they're gonna get towed.
Well, some of the signs you put up, as much as, and I don't know how some of these other people feel, should have restaurants or stores, nobody ever reads signs.
Yeah.
But these people must have, because when about 1:30 that day, I started going to every single one of them, because I was packed. Talking to every single customer in there, making sure, did any of you park on Main Street? Because if so, you probably want to move your car, because I don't want anybody coming back to me and be like, why didn't you tell me?
Hmm.
Every single one of them said, I saw that sign, so we parked somewhere else.
Yeah.
So that clearly works.
Yeah, and so, and Garden Jubilee and Apple Festival seem to get less complaints because the juice is worth the squeeze on those
Yeah.
weekends compared to some of the other ones. But when I was passing around stuff, I only got 2 people from businesses that stopped me and complained about it being early as far as the closure. And this one wouldn't solve the problem for the 2 main ones that are the issue, which is Halloween and Christmas parade. But just want to throw a thought out there, especially for the Main Street businesses. After we were doing that, I was asking Terry for Garden Jubilee if we just close the street in the morning for Garden Jubilee and have the vendors come in early morning and the event started at like, vendors were open for sale, slow start, but open for sale at like 11 on Friday instead of coming in at the end of the day. Then that way it's not disruptive of making cars leave middle of the day. People who've come midday have already found a place to park like they do for the event. Does that seem like that would be
We definitely want their perspective. That could be,
I think for Garden Jubilee, the vendors have a lot to do, more so than the other festivals.
Yeah.
So much, like loads and several trips.
They have to restock.
Yeah.
So that's another round of restocking if they start earlier. So by Friday afternoon or, all right.
They do a restock in the mornings for it. So it'd be a question we'd ask for the vendors, but I would think that like the nurseries, which are the bigger ones that take a lot of time, they're already up early. And so they could be up loading in as early as they want to, and then like when the streets quiet.
number 4, like Treat Street and the Christmas shutdown, the businesses wanted that 12 to 2 window just for like lunchtime, just for.
Yeah, so, I guess my question is is it being closed when there's something active going on there? Cause it'd be active because the event would, like vendors would be setting up, there'd be a little bit of like, y'all don't worry about the vendor part of it right now, but more on the business side of things. But, or is it the disruption in the middle of the day? Cars having to bail out, and that's where I don't know where, like, especially with not 4th of July. Halloween and the Christmas parade. I don't know how an early closure wouldn't solve anything.
It'd be worth it to experiment maybe.
So are you thinking about if you were to close the street starting Friday morning, then could they set up and start Garden Jubilee on Friday?
Yeah, just basically kind of like a pre-show, like maybe, and for the first year, probably not a heavily advertised, but just have the street already shut down. So that way we don't have to shut it down in the middle of the day and tow a bunch of cars because it's already empty.
That's, oh God, that's a tough one.
Yeah,
I would say that if you're extending Garden Jubilee, first of all, you should, even from year one, you should just promote it. Because I guarantee you, if you do like a slow rollout, don't promote it, nothing happens on that street, you're gonna get every business on this street coming knocking on your door.
yeah, no,
I don't want that.
yeah, we'd have to think of how it was promoted for it. We had people walking down the street asking us as we were shutting down the street and vendors were loading in. We had people, and I don't know if they were I don't know, but they were asking us, where's the festival at? I'm looking for the vendors.
Found it.
They were,
Oh, yeah.
so people already thought it was happening on Friday anyway.
Like, we're shopping on Friday.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's more on the businesses for, is it better to just shut it down in the morning and have messy early in the morning and then just, it's the event Friday or not?
I really, me personally, and this may need to be a bigger discussion with a lot more people on
Yeah.
Main Street than just the board
Yeah.
essentially. But my personal opinion on it would be, you're probably better off just keeping it the way it is. Mostly because that is a big weekend, Memorial Day weekend, obviously. A lot of people start coming in as early as Wednesday and Thursday.
Yeah.
So they're all there all day Friday and the street's packed. They're all shopping, they're eating, they're doing everything. So that is one great day for downtown, and I'd hate to take that away if you said.
Would be like.
It could still be.
Bigger of a day.
It could be,
downtown.
but if you were to say close down the street starting like, I don't know, 6, 8 AM. Are you gonna be able to have the entire festival up and running by say 9, 10 o'clock in the morning when normal Main
See
Street?
about 11, I think that
And I feel like once you get to that point, and then it's a slower rollout of like, well, you have locals there at work and stuff like that, like it's a lot slower in the early middle of the day that a lot of people will start complaining of like, it's pretty quiet out there, we could have been open, I could have banged out a lot of people in that amount of time than I'm getting now. I don't know, it's a really weird.
What's the volume on Monday at Memorial Day?
What's the what?
The volume, like the activity on Monday?
It's pretty big.
Because I actually, as a newbie, was shocked that Garmin Jubilee wasn't on Monday.
but that doesn't solve our question on shutting the street down.
Yeah.
I was thinking if the volume on Friday is already good, why?
We're not looking to add another day, we're looking to shut the street down.
I think what she's trying to say is like, why one day over another, if like you're losing this day, you're getting this day
Yeah.
as an open business, and I see that concept. It is still a big day on Monday because it's Memorial Day, but it is also it's a very cookout kind of a
Travel.
thing, kind of like Fourth of
And
July.
of course,
It's a big travel day, so the people that did have that weekend may be traveling that day to go home, whereas they're already here on Friday. But it does also flip from year to year. I've seen some of those Memorial Days where it's like, it's ridiculous. It's like, what is just happening right now? And then I've seen others where it's like, okay, that was a regular day. So it does kind of flip. It's kind of hard to, from year to year, figure out, is this the year that this is happening here or is it on that day? I notice it every single year, it flip flops. But
You budget for busy.
you budget for busy and you hope you don't have a lot to do Tuesday morning.
Yeah.
And we're not looking to do the event on Monday, we're just looking to see if we need to, if it's better to shut down the street early and less disruptive and just have the event flow through the day or not.
A good idea that you've noticed that the most impact is the actual execution of the shutdown in the
Yeah.
middle of the day. And minimizing that's like a good idea. And I think it'd be worth it to experiment on it, like maybe at Christmas time. When it's not much at risk and just, there's not much of a need to do it there, but I would want to try it out on a day where there's like less at stake for everybody.
it would be more at stake doing it at Christmas time than anything.
Yeah,
Because those events don't have the crowd and the draw that coming in midday for Garden Jubilee would have.
yeah.
When does Apple Fest shut down? Friday?
They're
They
like,
shut down a Thursday afternoon and they're open all day on Friday.
That's kind of like what they were already.
they kind of shut down like this. They do it at like 2 or in the afternoon or something like that. I think it is on Thursday. So it's a similar concept.
So then all day you start out Friday, hit the ground running.
Yeah.
So we're going to go.
Yeah,
I think the vendors would, they want to be set and it's very chaotic.
mhm,
I'm just thinking about Apple Fest
yeah,
at max.
yeah.
They're rolling stuff out on the sidewalk.
First trying to get in.
We're like tearing through the racks.
That's a good.
Please wait, like, if you wanted to start at 11, people would show up at 9 ready to shop.
Yeah, that's a.
And it would be really hectic for the vendors to set up.
Earlier they'll show up.
That's gonna be the biggest thing is finding out from vendors, like realistically, what is your window of like from the beginning of setup to the moment you're ready to start selling? Like,
Yeah.
is it within 2 hours? Is it 3 hours? Like, what does it take for you to do that?
And if you said it,
Yeah.
if you said be ready by 10, I mean, some of them would be willing to come in at 5 a.m.
Yeah,
Which is highly possible too.
Yeah.
Nobody's on the streets anyway.
If they know the crowds are gonna be there at this time, they'll come in as early as they need to.
Yeah.
Make
Yeah.
money.
Yeah, I think if you were to start on a Friday, it would definitely
I
have.
certainly didn't have a problem to be there at 6 to do
Yeah,
reload.
you would definitely have to have a definitive, like Garden Jubilee starts at 11 a.m. on Friday and make sure like everybody's ready to go.
Yeah.
Like that, and I think that would alleviate a lot of people saying like, well, I don't know, we missed that on lunch kind of a thing.
I don't think that it's gonna hurt the lunch traffic for customers. I wouldn't anticipate that because.
That would be the
like,
fear.
And it's gonna be, people are already gonna be bothering vendors while they're trying to set up, because they're already coming at 8 o'clock in the morning before we're set up on
Yeah.
Saturday.
You will need a definitive start time and it probably will have to be early. It might even have to be earlier than 11. It might be like 9 or 10 in the morning.
Yeah,
Because once you get people on that street, like you said, like they're gonna be banging on the vendor's door and if they're not ready to go, and
Right.
they're gonna be in a chaotic mode trying to get it going.
yeah.
I mean, if you were to do that, I would say then it has to just be a full day, like they start at like, it opens at 9 a.m. on a Friday, if you were gonna do it on a Friday.
Yeah,
As opposed to like, be ready by noon or 11.
What time do you have it open on Saturday?
so, okay, that,
I think.
What time does it open on Saturday at 9?
if it's at 9, yeah,
Officially 9, but everything's open and people are shopping by 8.
yeah.
Yeah.
The unofficial.
That's good feedback on that. Yeah, okay, cool. That's all I have for that.
That's all the things on the agenda.
Yep.
Good.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Seconded. Right. Thanks for coming, everybody.